we haven't talked too much about the games. Obviously, we had the Saturday playing in game with the Ravens and the Steelers. That was kind of but obviously we got a great game with the Colts and the Texans and a rough ending. With the Colts going for it on fourth down and missing it. Excellent play or excellent last two drives by CJ Stroud. I mean, some of the throws that he was making on those drives, I mean, that's stuff a legend. And if he does end up going to become one of the all-time greats, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, that's exactly that drive, the last game-winning drive is exactly what we're all going to go back to. I mean, amazing. Obviously, the next day we got Buffalo versus Miami. A lot of injuries with Miami. A lot of ugly play in that game from Buffalo. I mean, it really should have been a blowout, but it was another game that it was for the 2 seed or the 6 seed. Buffalo, after all the people have been hating on them all season, are now the 2 seed, and we finally got the playoff picture set in the NFL.
Man.
We're finally here, fellas. It's the end of the season. The playoffs are all set. We've got the Baltimore Ravens on the AFC side as the number 1 team. As mentioned, Buffalo at number 2. Kansas City at number 3. The Houston Texans at number 4. After the collapse of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they went ahead and got it for division.
Crazy
Joe Flacco,
collapse.
Yeah, crazy collapse. We'll get into that in a second. But Jacksonville, not Jacksonville, but Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco at 5, Miami at 6, and the Steelers getting in at 7. They always seem to sneak around. On the NFC side, obviously we had the 49ers at 1, Cowboys at 2, Lions at 3, Bucks at 4, Eagles at 5, Rams at 6, and the Packers at 7. So we've got a great group, aside from the Steelers. I'm not trying to hate, but aside from the Steelers on both sides, I feel like we've got, honestly, a great group of playoff matchups. What's your favorite matchup? What you guys are looking forward to in the first week in Wild Card?
I'm definitely looking forward to this. It's a few, honestly. I think most of them are
the
in the
return
AFC.
of Tariq Hill.
Yeah.
The
I
return
would
of
say
Matt Stafford.
that Chiefs-Dolphins game could be ugly. But there's a possibility it could be competitive, but I don't think so. I think it could get ugly because of the weather. It's supposed to be, 0 degrees, but feel like below 0. It's supposed to be, so that would be tough on Miami. Don't have high hopes for them there. But this Texans-Browns game, sneaky good game. It's probably the Texans' worst matchup they could have pulled in this first round. Like they really, it's tough for them. You know what I mean? Like that would be a very tough game for them to win because, the Browns are legit. But other than that, I would say Lions-Rams, just because I think that one's the hardest to pick for me. And of course, we got the return of Matt Stafford going back to Detroit for a playoff game. He's going to go crazy. The Rams have been playing good the second half of the season to begin with. Lions have been up and down a little bit in the second half, but they still have, a lot of wins, a lot of good wins, questionable decisions, but it'll be a good game, like good back and forth in that game. So those are my 3, I would say, that I'm looking forward to the most.
What say you, Chris?
I think probably the best game of the weekend probably to me would be Rams and the Lions. Just return to Matt Stafford. Not even just return to Matt Stafford. I mean, y'all, the quarterbacks got traded for each other. So
a lot of ties there.
It's time to get it. Let's see what's up for real. Even though obviously Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl, but a sneaky game. This might surprise y'all, but a sneaky game I think will be a good one is the Packers and the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, I know you're gonna say that.
I think that's gonna be a good game, shockingly, because I like I said earlier, early in the season I was low on Green Bay Packers, but they don't have some good games. It's just sometimes some of their games they look so flat. It just look weird, but they're still a young team. But I think that'll be a sneaky good game.
Okay.
Shot.
I actually think that's going to be the game of the week. The Packers and the Cowboys. They obviously have a storied history. They have a storied history going in the playoffs in general. And obviously that was Dak's first playoff game was against the Cowboys and Aaron Rodgers. So we're seeing the same thing, vice versa with Jordan Love. Obviously, the Cowboys have won 16 straight games at home. Jordan Love's been on a heater to get the Packers into the playoffs. So I think that's going to be a better game than people are expecting. As obviously we can talk about the Lions versus the Rams, Sunday Night Football. I mean, it's storyline on storyline. Jared Goff versus Matt Stafford. Jared Goff versus Sean McVay. Matt Stafford coming back home in the Lions' first home playoff game in over 30 years. So it's a lot of storylines. I mean,
McVay
that is going to be a fan.
And Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, it's gonna be very, very interesting. But if we're gonna add a sneaky game, the most important game, the most interesting game is gonna be that Monday night game. Because if the Eagles lose,
it's not no.
Yes, if the Eagles lose, there's gonna be a lot of questions about number one, Jalen Hurts coming off of signing his big contract. And if he's just a TikTok, sensation and future target shopper,
he gonna set a tripod. He gonna grab the tripod. And lose.
That shit's so
Nick
crazy,
Sirianni. I mean, you have to assume, not necessarily assume, but you have to go ahead and question whether his job is going to be safe following this epic collapse. It's going to be a lot of questions.
You don't agree, Chris?
Obviously, A.J. Brown, you have to sign. You have Devontae Smith's contract coming up. What are you going to do on the defensive side? Obviously, retirings with Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. It's going to be a lot of questions going into the offseason if they lose this game.
So you think if y'all lose,
bruh? Okay, let me ask y'all a question. So coming into the season,
mm-hmm.
The question was the whole mantra was Super Bowl hangover. So we came to the season losing 1 out of 6 games and finished the record like we got now. Y'all would say differently.
I think
absolutely. Everybody would say differently. I don't think that those are the same scenarios because obviously seasons go differently.
But my thing is, you talking about a coach that just took a team to the Super Bowl. You can't just say because he had.
We've seen it before, though.
They had a bad end of the season. We done seen coaches who ain't did nothing have bad endings of the season and don't get fired. So why would he get fired?
This is a normal franchise.
Expectation, stability, and the way things are spiraling to. You don't see too many teams that just went to the Super Bowl, whether it's a Super Bowl loss or a Super Bowl win, either way, that start off 10-1, and then by the end of the season, there's nothing but in-season. There's nothing but in-team or what seemingly in-team turmoil.
But most teams that do Super Bowl don't even make it back to the playoffs next year, let alone anything else. They be having bad records. Go look it up. Most teams don't make it back like that.
That all sounds good, but at the end of the day, it's all about how the season goes on. When you also fire a coach mid-season, that's not something that you just gloss over. That's ultimate panic. That's ultimate panic.
Our defense is bad. I mean, that's not ultimate panic. That's just that's literally trying to fix a problem. I'm not understanding what's
when has in-season fire? How often is in-season firing?
Okay, how often have you had a team that defense performed like ours before versus the year before? You don't have that. The thing is, the year before we went to the Super Bowl, but I mean expectations went out the roof. That's just what happened. Like we literally set a record for sacks. There was no way in hell we was gonna do that shit again. That don't mean you need to fire the coach because you're not performing the same way you performed the year before.
But I think also we're talking about we're talking about them possibly. This will only happen, in my opinion. This will only happen if y'all lose to this team this weekend. If y'all beat this team and lose next round, okay. But if y'all lose to the Bucs team that barely made it to the playoffs, that y'all beat earlier this season as well, manhandled. And as much shit as the Bucs went through and how bad they looked, especially last week against the Panthers with a full squad, they didn't rest anybody. If y'all lose to this team, I think yes, heads will start rolling.
And on top of that,
heads will start rolling, but Nick Sirianni's job ain't going nowhere.
On top of that, we're also talking about. Not only we're talking about losing to this team, but losing in the fashions that they have over the past few weeks. This is on top of we're also not discussing, because this is the Eagles locker room has supposed to be one with, like we've talked about, with extreme leadership. We don't typically hear too much out of it, and we've been hearing nothing but stuff out of it. Whether it's AJ, whether it's Jordan Mailata coming out and saying something or having
But
to
you
protect
haven't been
somebody, or
hearing nothing.
Jason
You've been
Kelce.
hearing Cap because they came out and said it's Cap. So I'm like the lies, because literally they came out. Everybody, even the media, saying the person who said it, like,
So
you don't
we
even
know
be in the
that it's
locker
not
room enough
live.
to say that you know that veterans feel this way. And it's like, okay, he came out and addressed it.
So
I ain't heard shit else from that same report that we talking about.
So you're telling me, or are you trying to convince yourself or convince us that you come out
This ain't
against the
y'all team. I
Giants?
ain't got to convince y'all nothing. This ain't
You
y'all
go
team. So
against the
I don't care what
Giants.
y'all think about them.
You go against the Giants and you come out and you're down 21-0 with your starters. We're supposed to just be like, okay,
everything's fine.
so we already know that all the stuff that they said about or like there's no issues internally, we all know that's a lie. So regardless of what reporters say, we can see based on on-field play that that's a lie. So are we supposed to not? What?
Because my thing is, okay, we win this game. You erase everything that happened already? You not. So I mean, that's why I'm like, I don't get what you're trying to.
But you win this game, you put yourself in a better position than what you've been looking like.
Don't change anything that happened.
Y'all started off winning 10 of 11 games.
Winning this game don't change nothing that happened. That's my point. Like, it doesn't matter.
Winning fixes a lot. Winning does fix.
Bro, y'all lost. Y'all went 1-5.
Bro, we beat the Giants. It didn't fix shit. That's what I'm saying. We literally was in a tailspin. Beat the Giants. Next week we lose 2 games. Winning don't fix everything.
In the playoffs,
winning can
winning one game fixes everything that just happened. That's what I'm asking you, because you just said
a lot. It fixes a lot.
Winning one game don't fix everything. If we win and we subsequently lose the next week, that don't fix nothing.
So I'm gonna bring it back to another team that started off undefeated, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And obviously they had a tailspin a couple years ago. Ben Roethlisberger's last year, they obviously had a tailspin. And since then, their organization has gone downhill. They haven't been. Obviously, they are in the playoffs now, but I mean, you're not taking them seriously. Nobody is taking them seriously as an organization in terms of winning football. So, and this is with a strong coach, and obviously they've had some stuff. And we had heard rumors that Mike Tomlin was gonna be losing his job and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're telling us that that Nick Sirianni is not going to lose his job. So, what are you saying is going to be the solution? Because all of this, it's not that big of a deal. We can take that out the window. That's over. We know it's a big deal.
No. See, no, you misquote me. I never said it's not a big deal. Y'all saying he's gonna get fired. I'm like, why would he get fired?
It's a possibility.
This is his third year. He wouldn't get fired. He wouldn't get fired. He just lost both his. We've been talking about. He lost both his coordinators. Like, what are we talking about? So you said
if you
just said okay, well, just.
So what is the solution?
Get better coordinators. What do you mean? Yes. What you mean? Yes. Get better coordinators. Redo the defensive roster. Like, what do you mean? Our defense is bad. That's facts. That's fact. We have still top 5 in most categories in offense. Our offense isn't terrible.
Okay. So look, I want to stick on this because a part of Gannon leaving the Eagles was a lot of scapegoating as well. So, and then obviously the first season that Nick Sirianni was there, he obviously took control of play calling at that point in time, and that team wasn't as good until Shane started to take over, and then you guys hit your stride obviously towards the end of that season, going into last season, and then adding what you needed to add. So on top of that, I mean, you had to not come to a point where you question like, okay, is this the right guy to even hire good offensive coordinator or good defensive coordinator? And then at that point, as a set follow-up question, if you do hire an offensive coordinator and do hire a new defensive coordinator, and next year it's some of the same, what do you say then?
If was a fifth, we all be drunk. I can't speculate what if next year gonna be like. What do you mean? What if?
You're definitely hiring a coordinator next year. So if a defensive coordinator for sure. If that doesn't work out, who's at fault?
Honestly, if it just depends, it actually really depends on what is not working out. Because I just said I'll not only said about a coordinator, I said we need a new defense in general. Like most of our pieces are bad. Like we don't have good personnel. That's what I said too. So that's on Howie. That is definitely on Howie. He decided to re-sign James Bradbury and Slade, but
They
didn't
were
get
coming off all pro
didn't get
seasons.
CJ the money. I'm not saying like I want Slade, but I'm talking about like Bradbury had a bad year. He re-signed him. He was an All Pro last year. We don't have he don't sign linebackers. We gave up our best linebacker, and he's going crazy in Chicago. That's personnel wise. That's Howie Roseman all day. He make good decisions. He make bad decisions. But you can't sit there and tell me that our defensive personnel is top in the league because it's not. Linemen, sure.
I
Back
mean
seven,
that
no.
once again we can say that because we've seen in the like you said last year they were one with most of the same personnel. They were one way and then they're not
Wait, we
this
lost
year.
two
So
starting.
it's
We lost two starting safeties, both starting linebackers, and a starting D tackle. That's 5 people.
But y'all are bottom feeding though. This is like top. This is the
that
lowest 3 defense, like bottom 3 defense in the league. Like this is really bad, man. It's like it's not like
Y'all
it's like a
talking like
little
I'm
drop
saying
off.
they just say this personnel. What are we talking about?
But
He
it's
said
no, it's
bad. I'm
not just
like, I ain't
personnel though.
agreeing with you. So
It's not just
you said
personnel.
it's not
you
personnel
did
at all.
so you're
No, it's not just
but
personnel.
one of the things
It's
that you
mostly personnel. What you
but
mean?
one of the things that you mentioned is that you lost 2 safeties, right? Right? You replaced one of those safeties with a Pro Bowler. You replaced the starting
Who?
D tackle.
Who?
You replaced the starting D tackle with the possible defensive rookie of the year.
No, rewind. What you say about the safety?
Kevin
Kevin
Byard's a
Byard.
Pro Bowler. I mean,
Didn't you say there's a reason why he was on trading block?
I mean
All
he's still
right,
a Pro
then
Bowler at the end of the day.
there's not good players. You said this yourself. You said
He's
there's a
still
So
reason
he's
why
still
he's
a
on
Pro
trading
Bowler
block.
though.
I said there's a
Okay.
reason why he was on the trading block, and I mean,
Oh
one of
my
the reasons I
God.
never said was that he was bad. That wasn't a
He's
thing. I
not
mean,
bad.
so
You know that, Chris.
at the end of the
He's
day,
not bad.
I don't know why you capping right now.
How am I capping? I literally all I said was I don't think Nick Sirianni head should be on the block. And I backed that up by saying, yes, I do think we have bad personnel. I said that. I do think we
okay.
have bad personnel and bad defensive coaching. I don't know how am I capping.
So
Did I make
all
any
right.
of
So
that up? Is any of that not
let's
true?
go back. Let's go back to this scenario, and we can just leave off of this.
Oh
So
my
if the same thing, if the Eagles start the game the same way they start against the Giants, you're telling me that Nick Sirianni's job shouldn't be in question. Now, also keep in mind that he went on his own recorded show or his own weekly show and was asked the same thing about his job security. So, I mean, it is up in the air. We can put that out there. It is up in the air. So
Because
you're
people
saying his
ask,
job
that means
shouldn't
it's
be
up
in
in the
question.
air. Jeffrey Lurie ain't said shit. So how you gonna
Yes.
say that? That's my point. That is my point. I can say, yeah, his job should be online. That means it's up in the air. And the man ain't said nothing.
So are we doing that?
Seems like it.
Is that what we're doing?
I'm just saying.
Is that what we're doing?
I'm just saying.
Is that what we're doing?
There's some smoke there, man. It ain't just nothing. Like, and especially like
Bruh,
everything that
okay.
we're hearing about the locker room and everything. It's some
That's
smoke.
fine.
It might be a little bit. It might be but it's some smoke, man. It's not just nothing. We're not just making this shit up. Like, there's something there.
It could be something there, but I'm standing by what I just said. There's no reason why his head should be on the block because you feel like it don't mean nothing. I just said there's no reason why his head should be on the block, and I explained why.
Okay. I hadn't heard no explanation yet, but okay. With that being
Okay,
said,
so
we will revisit this. We will revisit this on next week's show, depending on how the game goes. Okay. So last thing before we get into our playoff picks and predictions, Jameis Winston, the story of the week so far, outside of the actual games. So for clarification, Jameis Winston, it has been reported that he overruled his coach Dennis Allen on the final play, on one of the final plays against the Falcons. The Saints lined up in victory formation, and as a team, they decided that they wanted to run the ball in to get Jamal Williams his first touchdown on the season after having a season where he had like 15, 16, 17 touchdowns and not getting into the end zone this season. with the fallout, we've seen obviously Shannon Sharp come out and say that, you know, he would cut him today. We saw the back and forth with him and the respectful back and forth between him and the reporter in the locker room. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think that Jameis was in the wrong, overruling his coach? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it was a bad look, I would say. It was when you line up in victory formation, and this is kind of what Shannon talked about on his podcast that he didn't talk about on First Take. About guys, like you're in a victory formation, guys aren't prepared for that. And it can lead to injury. Like and on the flip side of it, and I think Dan Orlovsky pointed this out. If it was the other way around, if you're in victory formation, you got the defense going hard as shit, you're gonna be mad at them, right? So I think you got to be fair. If you get mad at that, which mostly everybody does, if it's like, why are you going so hard when you're in victory formation? You can be mad the other way around. And I don't think it was all on Jameis, but I do think Jameis had a big say in that. I think it was Jameis' idea to begin to ask the question to the group. You know what I mean? So, and it's not a good look for Dennis Allen when you come out and basically admit that they went rogue. It's a lot, especially how their season went, like how up and down it was. I was kind of surprised that they're bringing him back. You know, kind of surprised, but not at the same time. But that's a bad look for your head coach if you got people on your team that's saying like, "Nah, fuck that. We're gonna do it." I mean, it is the last play of the season, but still, it is a bad look. Chris, what you think?
Man, Jameis dead ass wrong, and anybody want to back that shit up dead ass wrong. You don't do that. That's your coach. Like you don't do that. And then, like you said, you didn't even go into a real formation. You went into victory formation and then say, "Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you." Like, no, bro, you can't do that to that's your head coach. You basically said, "Fuck you." We gonna do what we want to do. He said the whole team. No, you said the 11 people in the huddle. He probably didn't even tell the rest of them. He probably told, "Hey, I'm gonna just hand this shit off to you." I'm willing to bet he didn't say shit to them other people.
The rest of the team has come out and backed Jameis.
They backed him up though. I will say that.
You're supposed to back your teammate up. You're supposed to, but
nah. In a situation like that, go ahead.
But again, he said whole team. He couldn't have told the whole team. Told 10 people.
Yeah, that's fair.
But we don't know what it was like on the sidelines because he did say that they did ask Dennis Allen first, and Dennis Allen said no. And said to go with the victory formation.
So it was after a timeout or something?
I feel like they were talking about this shit the whole game.
It happened. So they got an interception, got it down to the one.
Yeah.
On the sideline, they asked him, and he said no.
Victory formation.
You go on a victory formation. So in my opinion,
I guess my not to cut you off, but my thing was if he asked the team, Dennis would have heard that if they was on the sideline.
No, he asked Dennis.
No. I'm saying when he said it was a decision to go for it anyway, I'm saying Dennis would have heard that on the sideline. I mean, because at what point was he away from Dennis, but with everybody else? It's when he got on the field. That's why I said it's only those 10 people that was on the field with him.
What I'm saying is maybe like they talked about it like on the sidelines like before and being like, oh, like we want to like if we get the ball again, we want to get Jamal.
That's probably
like a touchdown.
That's probably how Jamal got on board with it. That's probably how.
They had to like. It's not like these niggas was playing it. Like they had to have known something. Like or like to have known like, oh damn, Jamal ain't had a touchdown all season. Like let's get him one.
They were definitely talking about it.
That's something that they had to have been, in my opinion, like just putting two and two together. They had to have been talking about it on the sidelines. Then when they got onto the field, he asked them again, "What do y'all want to do?" And then that's when they decided, blah blah blah. So I would say, in my opinion, that. First of all, like I said, if the team, I've always been saying if the team did decide that, and what we've seen following is that Jimmy Graham has come out and said something. Chris Olave, who's your best receiver, arguably your best player on the team, most important player on the team at this point, comes out and says something. You've had other NFL players come out and say and back Jameis. In my opinion, at that point, like I feel like Jameis was in the right because as a head coach and a leader of men, like that's number one, you should be backing your players. And there obviously was a conversation about it, or, he said that he asked. I'm pretty sure the coach or Dennis Allen said that as well. Number two, what I would have to disagree with in terms of what Dan said is at the end of the game, like if you're lined up in victory formation, you shouldn't be going hard. I never understood why people got mad about Chip Kelly doing that, because sometimes you're in victory formation and you're down 4 points. If the motherfucker trips and fumbles the ball, you get the ball back. Like, I mean, it's football. Like at the end of the day, that's how I've always felt about it.
When you're down 4 points, yeah, but when you're down 20 and you're still going hard, you can hurt your center. You can hurt.
Circumstances definitely different.
I would have felt different if they actually went out and lined up in like I formation. Like, bro, don't do that, bro. That just made me feel like you make your coach look like an idiot. Because now, I mean, like, I'm not saying Arthur Smith wouldn't have got mad, but it's the fact that you're in victory formation and I'm gonna hand it off. So now it's like, now I got to answer for like, so y'all running tricks on the goal line in victory for like, what are you doing? And that just make your coach look stupid.
I mean, that also might be a point. That also might be a reason why they did it. I mean,
it's my job to lose. You cut, nigga. Fuck that.
You shouldn't be. You should, in my opinion. I keep saying this is the story shouldn't be about Jameis. The story should be about Dennis Allen and why in the hell when your team asked you, if your team asked you and said that they wanted to do this, why did you go against them? Who cares about the score? Who cares about running up the score? This is what your team decided. And on top of that, what makes me, obviously not every single teammate has come out and said something. Jamal Williams even said something post game. He said something about how they talked about it and how he loved Jameis for that. Jonathan Abraham says something about it too. If you guys want to put stock in that, but if you go back and watch the replay, all of the linemen jumped off and it like fired off to run the play. So in my opinion, that it was clear, like just watching how the play was ran, it was clear that they were all into it. And you all see them all put their hands up. So it wasn't like it was some surprise. Like they were all
everybody
into it.
And all,
so haters. But
Taysom Hill was like, man, I ain't with that shit. He's like,
but what if this nigga didn't score? Then what they were gonna do? Call timeout?
That's good.
What they gonna do? Call timeout and run it again? What the fuck are we doing?
That is why I'm thinking that they didn't try to go with the victory formation, because they didn't want to make it like they just wanted the easy touchdown.
It's a little fucked up to me. Just the whole situation in general.
Like, I agree with you. Like Dennis Allen should have just went ahead and said, okay, go ahead. But I'm just saying, after he said no, like just don't do it, bro. That's all I was saying, bro. But hey.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough situation.
They ain't doing that shit to Bill Belichick. I tell you that, boy.
But I don't think Bill, and that's another thing Shannon said, like all the greats, like, do you think Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells? I don't think they would have. I think if the team would have came up to them and said that, they would have went forward with it, and which is why they're leader of men. So like, and like that to me, Dennis Allen would have never gotten back on. He would never have stepped foot back in New Orleans for me. That's just my opinion.
Which is interesting because you saw that they bringing in or trying to bring it, reportedly trying to bring in John Gruden. So it's like Dennis Allen.
I think the only reason that he's, in my opinion, the only reason that they're keeping him on as coach is because they're in such cap hell. They know he's the only person that will want to deal with that bullshit, and then they can try to salvage what they can with Derek Carr to try to make it work. But aside, I think that's the only reason. If I'm being completely honest,
maybe
makes sense.
But I mean, it's definitely tough. I mean, it's hard to say like, oh, you're in the right for overruling your coach. But like, at the end of the day, I feel like some people have been coming at Jameis, and Jameis is an easy punching bag. Like he's a little quirky. He has his little sayings. He did the little eating shit, eating W shit. And Jameis is always like the easy punching bag. So I feel like that has a lot to do with why so many people are coming out and saying stuff like, and it's just like, it's kind of corny. I feel like calling for Jameis's head is a little too much to me, in my opinion, from Shannon's perspective.
I don't see how it matters. Even if like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see what, from Shannon's perspective, like you said, cutting Jameis. I mean, I feel like Jameis don't really give a fuck. So it's like, what's the point of even saying cutting Jameis? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So it's.
I mean, he's just in there. He's always been like that. Like, as far as like, if it just like not the norm, then it's just like he take it to another level and make it seem like it's very demonstrative. So
and
that's just him.
But like the thing about the only thing that kind of frustrates me about it is like when you expect your play, like when these players go into the media, you kind of expect them to have players back a little bit, and like some of the stuff that's said, it's just like, all right, bro, like you're going a little bit over the top. Like, we know that you're a 3-time Super Bowl champion. We know that you're one of the best tight ends ever. We know that you're Hall of Famer. Don't go up there and act like you ain't never did nothing wrong, because I'm sure Mike Shanahan wasn't. I'm sure Mike Shanahan wasn't on the sideline or what was happy with you talk about some call the National Guard, get the Patriots need help. I'm sure Mike Shanahan wasn't on the sidelines like, yeah, I fought with that, Shannon. Like, that's cool. Like, come on, bro. Like let's ease up on Jameis a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, but like, like I said, he's just an easy target, especially at the time Brady came and won the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Now people are like, oh, you see exactly why there's no leadership, blah, blah, blah. Like, all we've ever known Jameis was to be a leader. Like, come on now. Like, or, somebody that teammates respected. So it's just a little over the top.